You are tired. Maybe you don't even know exactly why, but you feel it. You feel like you are always carrying an invisible weight, as if it were your obligation to keep everything in balance. Please everyone, avoid conflicts, always be kind, understanding, polite. You learned early on that being a good person was the right thing to do, that the good win in the end, that if you are kind, others will reciprocate, that it's enough to be fair, honest, humble, and the world will recognize that. But what if I told you that all of this is a lie, a comfortable lie taught to keep you well-behaved, predictable, controllable? How many times have you stayed silent to keep the peace? How many times have you erased yourself just to avoid disappointing anyone? How many times have you let someone disrespect you, take advantage of you, and still you smiled, said, "It's all good," swallowed your tears, anger, pride in the name of a supposed virtue that only made you be ignored? Pay attention. The world doesn't always reward those who are simply kind. More often, it favors people who know how to move with strategy. If you're listening to this, chances are you've experienced it yourself. You've tried being the nice person, the good friend, and the one who always understands others. But now you're beginning to see that the harder you work to gain acceptance, the less respect you receive. The more you compromise, the more people expect from you. And the more you give, the less they seem to appreciate your worth. And that's where Machiavelli comes in. Machiavelli was not the devil that many say. He was perhaps the first to tell the naked truth about how power works. He understood something that most people refuse to accept, that pure morality, detached from reality, is a trap, that being seen as good is not the same as being effective, fair, or worthy. In this video, we're going to speak honestly and openly about why you should stop focusing on being a good person. And no, this doesn't mean turning into someone heartless or cruel. It means becoming aware. It means letting go of the childish belief that the world is always fair and that simply doing the right thing guarantees you'll be rewarded. We're going to uncover the reality, even if some of the truths are difficult to accept. As long as you keep trying to please everyone, you'll remain under their control, a prisoner of your own kindness. And if you're already exhausted from being taken advantage of, overlooked, or pushed aside, perhaps it's time to make a change. Learn from Machiavelli the lessons they never taught you and start taking control of your own life. Are you ready? Let's begin. Do you still believe that the world values good people? Look around you. Who are the most admired? Who holds leadership positions? Who earns respect, influence, space? Are they the most generous, the most compassionate, the most just, or are they the most strategic, the most assertive, the hardest to manipulate? The truth can be harsh. The world isn't always driven by kindness. Often, it runs on usefulness and influence. Machiavelli recognized this centuries ago. He didn't write Times, the Prince Times, to teach people how to be cruel. He wrote it to reveal how the game of power actually works. And one of his hardest lessons is this: simply being a good person isn't enough. Sometimes, being too good can make you the easiest person to overlook, replace, or cast aside. You can dedicate your entire life to being loyal, compassionate, and understanding. You can give your all and help people without asking for anything in return. But once you stop being useful to them, they may forget you, replace you, ignore you, and what hurts most is that they may feel no guilt about it at all. The world doesn't always judge your value based on how good or moral you are. It often judges you by what you contribute, the influence you carry, and the difference you make. Have you noticed that the nice guys are always chasing after, always justifying, explaining themselves, trying to prove they are deserving? Meanwhile, those who set boundaries, who say no, who present themselves clearly, they are respected, they have a voice, they have space. And why? Because blind kindness is seen as weakness, because those who never confront, never threaten, and those who do not threaten are not taken seriously. They are seen as a resource, not as a presence, as a tool, not as an individual. You can kill yourself trying to please, but if you do not represent power or consequence, no one will hesitate to use you. It's harsh, I know, but it's the reality. Machiavelli said that a leader should not seek to be loved but to be feared, if forced to choose between the two. And what did he mean by that? That true respect arises from the perception that you are someone with the power to act, that you cannot be trampled without reaction, that you're not a replaceable piece in someone else's game. If you find this content valuable, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I truly appreciate your support. Thank you for being here. And this applies to you as well. If you keep shaping your life around being agreeable to everyone, people may continue to see you as someone who can easily be overlooked or replaced. Not because there is anything wrong with being a good person, but because constantly making yourself smaller can cause others to undervalue you. It's time to understand where this deep need for constant approval comes from. Because beneath your kindness, there may be something much deeper, something that has been holding you back and undermining you for years. And that is exactly what we're going to uncover. You weren't born wanting to please everyone. That was taught to you. And worse, it was conditioned. Since childhood, you learned that being accepted came at a price, giving up parts of yourself, forced smiles, swallowed desires, silenced opinions, all in the name of approval. From "don't do that, it's ugly," to "be nice," to "don't respond, you're so polite." And so, little by little, you molded yourself to fit what others expected. What no one ever explained to you is that constantly trying to please others can become an emotional trap, a psychological cage reinforced by flattering words and punishments disguised as lessons. You were taught that keeping others happy would earn you love, while expressing anger, setting boundaries, or putting your own needs first would lead to rejection. So, like any mind trying to protect itself, you learned to adjust, adapt, and become whatever was necessary to feel accepted. The problem is that this adaptation eventually became submission. Now, saying no can make you feel guilty. You feel responsible for everyone else's happiness, even when it comes at the cost of your own well-being. You become frustrated, but keep your feelings hidden. You get hurt or disappointed, yet forgive people far too easily. You drain yourself trying to maintain an image that others have come to expect from you, not because it truly reflects who you are, but because you learned that being this way was the safest way to feel accepted and secure. But here's a reality check. This is not kindness. This is fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of not being loved, fear of being seen as a bad person, fear of being who you really are, with desires, with anger, with boundaries, with a voice. And this fear has turned you into someone who sabotages themselves, someone who hides behind socially accepted but emotionally destructive behavior. And the saddest part is that you may not even recognize that you're doing it. You call it empathy, but sometimes it is really a fear of conflict. You call it understanding, but underneath it may be a fear of being abandoned. You call it kindness, when deep down it may come from the fear that you are not enough. Your kindness can become a mask, an unconscious way of protecting yourself from the pain of rejection. But that mask comes with a heavy price. It slowly suppresses your authenticity, your confidence, and your self-respect. If you never take it off, eventually it can become so familiar that you mistake it for your true identity. And one day you may look in the mirror and wonder who you really are beneath it all. But there is a way back. And to find it, we need to learn from someone who understood the power of image, perception, and strategy like no one else. Machiavelli. In the next part, we will get straight to the point. What The Prince can teach us about how to stop being a hostage to our need to appear good and start being respected for who we really are. If you're living your life trying to prove that you're a good person, hoping others will notice your morals, values, and integrity, it's time to stop. More than 5 centuries ago, Machiavelli warned that this path may look admirable, but it can also be dangerous. In the real world, success doesn't always go to the person who is simply good. It often goes to the person who knows how to be effective. And being effective requires strategy. It means recognizing that people are not always motivated by your kindness. Their actions are often influenced by their own interests, fears, ambitions, and desire for power. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few feel what you really are." This sentence is a punch. It unmasks the illusion that being true, pure, and authentic is enough to earn respect. The reality is harsh. People do not see your intention. They react to your appearance, your image, your impact. You may be the most just person in the world, but if you seem weak, you will be treated as weak. You may have the most generous heart, but if you do not inspire respect, you will be ignored. And that is the deeper meaning of the prince, because in this story, the prince is you. Anyone who wants to take charge of their own life cannot afford to remain naive. You must know when to show virtue and when to think strategically. Machiavelli teaches that a leader must understand both sides of human nature, the fox and the lion. Be like the fox when you need to recognize traps, read situations, and move carefully. But be like the lion when strength, confidence, and presence are necessary to protect yourself and command respect. The lesson isn't to choose between the two, it's to learn how to use both when the situation demands it. Be perceptive enough to recognize when someone is trying to manipulate you, and strong enough to make them think twice before crossing your boundaries. If you want to earn genuine respect, understand that the kind of virtue Machiavelli speaks about is different from the morality often taught by others. It combines courage, intelligence, boldness, and self-discipline. It means remaining calm and firm when the situation demands it. Sometimes, you may need to appear harsh to maintain order, not because you want to hurt anyone, but because wisdom means knowing when kindness alone is no longer enough. Here's another quote from him. "A man who wishes to act in all circumstances like a good man is doomed to ruin among so many who are not good. And you know this. You have been that man. You have tried to be good in every situation. And what did you gain? Abuse, silence, injustice. People do not play fair, and if you continue to play as if they do, you will always lose. This does not mean abandoning your values. It means stopping using them as shackles. It means starting to act with power, to think about how your goodness is being perceived and used by others." Machiavelli was not cynical. He was realistic. He saw humanity without romanticism, without veils, and he wrote, "The Prince, as a manual for surviving in a world where appearance is power and weakness, disguised as virtue, is a death sentence." But maybe you're asking yourself now, is there really a way to find balance? How can you stop being naive without turning into someone cold or cruel? In the next part, we'll challenge the false belief that you only have two options, to be kind or to be ruthless. There is another path, a balanced one. And it begins with having the courage to stop lying to yourself. There is a fatal confusion that destroys the lives of many people, the idea that to be good, one must be submissive. That to be a good person, it is necessary to accept everything in silence, forgive everything without questioning, and live swallowing what bothers you to maintain peace. This is not kindness, this is naivety. It is cowardice disguised as virtue. And if you do not understand this difference, you will continue to be the emotional doormat of the world. Real kindness doesn't demand that you erase yourself. It requires awareness, understanding, and the freedom to choose. Being a good person doesn't mean becoming someone who is constantly available, always smiling, and endlessly sacrificing for people who would never do the same for you. When you continually put yourself last just to keep others happy, that isn't genuine kindness, it's self-neglect, often disguised as morality and emotional dependence. Naivety believes that people will treat you with the same heart that you have. Naivety believes that the world is fair and that if you are integral, others will recognize that. Naivety expects gratitude, reciprocity, consideration. And it lives frustrated, it lives disappointed, because it is projecting onto others a nobility that does not exist. Real kindness is different. It comes with strength and boundaries. It knows when to say no and when it is time to walk away. It recognizes that not everyone deserves the best of you. And constantly giving to people who give nothing back isn't generosity, it's simply wasting your energy. You can still be fair, compassionate, and principled while commanding respect and presence. You can be someone who knows your worth, understands your limits, and is clear about what you will and will not tolerate. Machiavelli, despite seeming cruel to modern eyes, did not hate virtue. He hated naivety. He knew that in a world full of predators, kindness without strength is just fresh meat in the middle of the jungle. The question you need to ask yourself now is your kindness protecting you or exposing you? Is it strengthening you or destroying you? Because if your idea of being good involves living by swallowing injustices, accepting crumbs, and blaming yourself for feeling anger, then you are not being good, you are being dominated. But there is a way to break free from this pattern. There is a middle ground where you can remain true to yourself without allowing anyone to walk over you. A place where you can respond with courage, clear judgment, and emotional awareness. In the next part, we'll explore that path, how to stop being overly accommodating without becoming cruel, and how to take control of your life while staying loyal to who you truly are. If you want to regain your self-respect, this is where the transformation begins. Many people who wake up to their own submission fall into a dangerous mistake. They believe they need to become cold, insensitive, almost cruel to stop being nice. This is the famous rebound effect. After years of being exploited, you think the only way out is to become the opposite. Someone tough, indifferent, calculating. But this can become another trap. When you abandon who you truly are, you are not making yourself stronger, you are simply protecting yourself through denial. That isn't freedom, it is pain disguised as strength. True liberation comes from learning to become whole, accepting every part of yourself, and choosing to live for yourself rather than constantly performing for others. It isn't about being good or bad, it's about being authentic. It means looking in the mirror and knowing that you can remain kind without ever becoming passive again. You can be compassionate without allowing others to take advantage of you. You can offer someone a helping hand without desperately seeking their approval or begging to be acknowledged. So how do you stop being nice without betraying who you are? First, understand that your voice matters. You have been conditioned to think that complaining, setting boundaries, or disagreeing is selfish. But that is a lie. Selfishness is expecting you to live silently while others speak over you. Speaking up, taking a stand, saying, "I do not accept this." That is dignity. It is self-respect. Second, learn to say no. Saying no can be one of the most empowering things you can do. It doesn't need to be harsh, angry, or confrontational. A simple, calm, and firm no can carry more strength than endless explanations or excuses. It sends a clear message: you have boundaries, and people are more likely to respect those who enforce their limits. When you have no boundaries, others may take advantage of you. Third, pay attention to who becomes uncomfortable when you start changing. These people can reveal a lot about the relationships around you. If you begin standing up for yourself and someone tells you that you've become different, strange, or selfish, it may be because they benefited from the way you used to submit or constantly accommodate them. By changing, you disrupt the unspoken arrangement that allowed them to take advantage of your kindness. That discomfort can be difficult to face, but it can also be a sign that you are finally making progress. Fourth, stop trying to be understood by everyone. Not everyone will understand your transformation, and that's okay. You do not owe loyalty to the image they created of you. Your loyalty should be to your truth, to your peace, to your emotional health. Fifth, replace the desire to be accepted with a commitment to authenticity. When you act authentically, you may even displease some, but you attract the respect of those who truly matter. And more than that, you start to respect yourself, and that is the kind of respect that no one can take away. Machiavelli was not trying to teach people how to become cruel. His lessons were about escaping naivety. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is believing that simply being nice will automatically earn you respect. It won't. Stepping away from the need to please everyone requires courage, and having the strength to live as your true self without constantly seeking approval requires even more. But this journey is not over yet, because now comes the decisive moment, the choice between continuing to sabotage yourself or finally taking the reins of your life. In the last part, we will conclude with a direct, brutal, and necessary call for you to understand that your obsession with being good may be costing you everything, and that the time has come to decide. Do you want to be loved, or do you want to be free? It's time to be completely honest with yourself. How much longer will you keep playing the role of the nice guy? How long will you continue giving up your energy, your voice, and your self-respect just to maintain an image that doesn't truly represent you but simply satisfies what others expect. Do you really believe that this is virtue or nobility? It isn't. It can become a psychological and emotional prison, a cage covered in flattering words, where you are praised for being harmless, predictable, and never posing a threat to anyone. But I'll tell you something that perhaps no one has had the courage to say before. No one is going to free you from this. No one is going to come thank you for all the sacrifices, give you the respect you deserve and say, now you can rest. That's not going to happen. Because as long as you are willing to be used, there will always be someone willing to use you. This isn't malice, it's reality. And reality doesn't bend to good intentions. You can keep trying to live up to the image of the good person that society has created for you. Quiet, patient, understanding, constantly available, and always willing to say yes. But if you continue down that path, you may end up carrying frustration, resentment, and the feeling of being invisible. Or you can choose to wake up. You can decide right now that your kindness will no longer control you like a chain around your neck. From this point forward, you can act with intention, confidence, awareness, and firm boundaries. That you will choose when to be generous and to whom. That you will no longer give what you don't receive. That you will no longer live seeking the approval of others like a dog begging for affection. The truth is simple. The world respects those who respect themselves. And you will only be free when you stop asking for permission to exist. So let me ask you, when was the last time you said no without feeling guilty? When was the last time you chose yourself instead of putting everyone else first? When was the last time you did something simply because it made you happy, without worrying about how others might respond? Share your experience in the comments. I want to hear about the moment you realized that constantly trying to be nice was costing you your own happiness. This conversation shouldn't end here, because so many people are trapped in the same invisible prison, and your story might be the spark that helps someone else finally wake up. If this video made you question the way you live, behave, or see yourself, then make sure to watch the next one. Trust me, it matters. This is only the beginning of the journey.